Hi everyone, it's Jenny here. Welcome back to Art Strings. I'm inspiring your creativity. Today I'm actually going to do something a little bit different, or something I haven't done in a while. I'm not going to be playing an instrument for you or singing. What I'm going to be doing is talking about self-publishing. If you don't know, I have self-published 6 books, believe it or not. Since late 2022, I guess. And I had no idea I'd published that many books. They're not long reads, but they're very valuable, and I write about things like divorce, dating, especially, after heartbreak, and I have a friendship evaluation book, and I have a poetry book and a Bible study. But yeah, so what I'm going to do today is talk like I'm just talking to you over coffee. So we can have a little chat about self-publishing. Maybe self-publishing is something you're interested in, and perhaps these tips that I'm going to share, or rather, well, they're tips, but they're more like things that I wish I had done sooner in my self-publishing journey. For example, I wish I had chosen my brand colors earlier. I don't know that you absolutely have to have brand colors, but I've heard that it helps people recognize you when you, for example, use the same colors over and over again on your social media posts and things like that. And sometimes those brand colors are incorporated into book covers as well. I know a couple of women entrepreneurs who have chosen like a bright pink for their brand colors. For me, I chose my favorite colors. One of them is mint green, and the other is purple. I chose a lavender because they look good together. If you want to see what I'm talking about, you can go to my website, jennyealexander.com. And that's another thing I actually wish I had done sooner, is get a website. I guess I wasn't that far behind, but perhaps I should have had a website before I got many books done. I didn't get a website until early last year, early 2023. So actually that's not so bad, but still I could have gotten a website sooner. And I started off with a free version of Wix because I'd used that website platform before, and I knew a little bit of how it worked. And I ended up getting a premium plan at 50% off. What I would do differently now is just sticking with the regular basic plan, the most basic plan that they have, and that's what I did this year. So I saved quite a bit that way, and it was 50% off as well. So another thing that I wish I had done is planned what I was going to write about. And again, I didn't know I was going to write so many books. The good thing is that they're all relationship oriented, so they're all connected in that way. But still, I wrote a divorce recovery book, and then I wrote a second one that went a little deeper into the recovery process. So I could have combined the two, and I did think of doing that, but that's a lot of work. So instead, I made them a series on Amazon, and that's how I connected them. And the covers are sort of similar. And anyway, but what I'm doing now is I'm going back over the first book, and I'm redoing it because that was my first book, but I feel it could be stronger. So I purchased a beta read on Fiverr, and that person gave wonderful feedback, 21 pages of suggestions. He said what he liked and said what could be improved, and I'm taking many of his suggestions to heart and incorporating them in this new version of the book, which I'm not sure when it'll be ready, but it'll be ready at some point. Another thing that I wish I had done sooner was build a community. And you might be wondering, how does an author do that? Through a website, but specifically through a newsletter. And I'm still learning about newsletters, how to grow one, and how to I dug in my heels about a newsletter because I thought it was going to be I wasn't looking forward to it at all. But it turns out it's not that bad, and actually creating the newsletter itself is actually rather fun. And at the moment, I have 7 subscribers. One of them is myself. I admit that. Uh, and I have 2 family members on my newsletter as well, but the rest are not related to me or even close friends or anything like that. So anyway, that's encouraging. Especially the newest subscriber is really interested in what I'm writing about, so that's very encouraging too. So I wish I had built the community sooner because it's easier to. And one caveat: you would think that a newsletter was about selling your books, but apparently, from what I've read, a newsletter is really about selling yourself. By getting your readers, your newsletter readers, you give them a little more of a glimpse into who you are. You don't have to share really, really personal things unless you want to, but they get to know your style of writing. You get to share extra things that you wouldn't in your books, etc. So it's really more about them getting to know you and to really like you, so they can help spread the word about you. One book I read called Newsletter Ninja indicated that a newsletter is about building super fans. So anyway, that was their opinion of it. Another thing I'd wish I'd done is more editing. I did do a lot of editing, especially on the Bible study book. I did editing on all my books, really. I didn't pay an editor. I could have even gone with Fiverr, but it adds up. It's really quite expensive to get an editor, and I didn't want to spend that money. But I used Grammarly, Hemingway editor, and a new favorite is DeepL. I don't have subscriptions to any of these things, but I did do a lot of editing. But it seems like you're going to find typos no matter how much you edit. Quite frustrating in that respect. But as I mentioned, I am redoing my first book. Not totally redoing it, but just adding to it and really editing it a lot. So in that way, I kind of wish I'd spent more time editing that book. But then again, that was my very, very first book, and our first books aren't necessarily going to be our best books. So there you have it. Another thing that I might have done sooner is researched marketing. How do you go about marketing books? I mean, I have written some books on the topic, and they were helpful, and I did things like podcast interviews, and what else have I done? I've done Facebook ads. As a brand new author, that wasn't very successful. So I learned as I went, and I'm still learning. I still don't know all there is to know about marketing. There's a lot to know about marketing. So if you have any marketing tips, feel free to drop them in the comments. I can learn from you too. That leads to another thing that I would have done sooner is perhaps learned all that was involved in self-publishing before self-publishing. As it is, I really just learned as I went along, and that's fine too. But I could have, read more books or done a little more research online about what was involved before jumping in. I just jumped in, and that's okay too. Learning as you go is a challenge, and we all need to be challenged sometimes. But I could have learned a little bit more in the beginning. Like I said, I would, if I could do it over, I wouldn't really have spent any money on Facebook ads in those early days. On the other hand, I did get some exposure when I was giving away books free, which is actually another thing I learned. I wouldn't actually, if I could go back and redo it, I wouldn't give as many books away free as often. But there you go. And I wish I would have known about Publisher Rocket sooner. If you don't know what Publisher Rocket is, it's a tool that someone created that helps you choose keywords for your books. Because otherwise you're just guessing, and you don't want to just guess. Publisher Rocket is a really good tool. I'm going to have an affiliate link in the description box that you can use if you decide to get that program. You only pay for it once, and you have it for life, and it's not a subscription. and it's a good investment. In fact, I had my first book sale of the year this week, and part of me is wondering, and it was someone from the UK, so part of me is wondering if it wasn't those keywords that helped them find it. You never know; it may have been. And I touched before on podcast interviews. I have done quite a few podcast interviews. If you want to see them, or you're welcome to go to my website, jennyealexander.com, and there's a page on interviews where I have all my interviews listed. But initially I had heard getting interviews for authors looking for interviews, I heard that it's going to be really hard to do that. You know what? It was not hard. Basically, I found some podcast Facebook groups, and I found good success that way. That's pretty much where I found all my podcast opportunities. So yeah, another thing that I would have done differently is taken more breaks. I spent, especially when you're formatting that book through Kindle Create, it can be really, really finicky. It can get really frustrating. I probably should have taken more breaks, and I probably shouldn't have worked after dinner time. I should have had more boundaries in that way. But yeah. And actually, I might have taken more breaks in between books too, if I could do it over. I'd still write all the books that I wrote, but maybe just taken more time in between to market the ones that I'd already written. So that's just something I feel that I could have done differently. And the last thing I'll say about book publishing, especially self-publishing, is, and you probably already know this, even though there's probably a gazillion videos you can find on YouTube about how so-and-so got rich quick through ebooks. No. I did not get rich quick with my ebooks. And in fact, like I said, I just had my first sale of this year this week. So there's ebbs and flows with book sales. Sometimes you'll get more than others, and maybe my books will gain traction at some point. And I'm still going to keep trying to make that happen, but I'm not giving up. But at the same time, you need patience when you're self-publishing. So that's really all the things that I have learned. And a bonus tip, I might have taken a writing class sooner too. I ended up taking a writing class kind of quite far into my author journey, and it was really helpful, and it probably would have helped even more had I taken it sooner, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme. The fact that I took it is good. So if you can find decently priced writing courses, you know, that have great recommendations, or especially by someone that you know, don't hesitate to take it, especially if you can afford it. It's worth it. Continuing education is always worth it. So just to recap, these are the things I would do differently, or these are the things I would do differently if I was self-publishing now. Okay, I would choose my brand colors. I would create my website. These are the things I would do sooner. I would plan what I was going to write about. I would build a community. I'm still building mine right now. I would have done more editing. I would have perhaps taken a writing class sooner. I would have done more research on marketing. I would have learned all that was involved before self-publishing. And there's Amazon, but there's also Draft to Digital and other platforms that you can publish. At one point I had my books on several different platforms, but then I just decided just to stick with Amazon because it's a little bit easier. I also wish I would have found Publisher Rocket sooner. I wish I would have, or I wish I wouldn't have believed what people said about podcast interviews, that they're hard to find, because they're really not. I didn't find that way. Once I found the Facebook groups, I did not find them hard to find. yeah, I would have started my email list sooner. That goes along with building community. I would have taken more breaks, and I would know from the outset to be very patient when it comes to self-publishing. So, if any of these insights are new to you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. And if you have things that you've learned, if you have self-published and you've learned things that I haven't, please share that in the comments as well. I'd love to hear. And if you're interested in my content, and I'm still inspiring your creativity even with this video, feel free to like it, or smash that like button, as some people like to say, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. So that's all for now. I hope you got something out of this, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.